Three, two. All right, everybody, welcome back to the next edition of the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. I'm Mark,
And I'm Joe.
and I'm really excited to do this episode today, Joseph. Really excited.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to do some podcasts, so it should be a fun time.
It should be a
Should
really
be a
fun
good
time.
episode.
Great episode. I'm feeling myself because the listeners don't know, but we know. We both kind of decided we were going to go all in as superstar quarterbacks in the NFL, start a Madden franchise, draft ourselves as rookies, and basically determine which teams we were going to put each other on. And I just won MVP my rookie year through 63 touchdowns. So take that, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, just
Have
showing
the
up Patrick Mahomes like that in your first year.
Oh, absolutely.
Showing him who's the real number 15.
Yep, that's why I took jersey number 15 because, when when people think of number 15, they're going to be thinking of Mark Epley. They're not going to be thinking of Patrick Mahomes anymore. The sensational second-year player who's on pace to throw another 50 touchdowns. So,
Mark, whenever I think of
getting
number
spicy.
15, I just think of that Madden Mark Epley quarterback for the Washington Redskins.
Oh, the Washington Redskins are legend. We went 14-2. An injury derailed us. We couldn't win the Super Bowl, but it looks like we're back, locked and loaded, and we're going to take it this year. So, anyways, the point in all this is that I'm feeling good. I feel like I can shoot my shot, especially as it pertains to picks, and I'm ready to get into it. But Joseph, a little bit of housekeeping first about our overall records after Week 7. So Week 7 happened, and I got a little bit of a lead on you now. I had a 4-game lead, and I had 3 games right, as opposed to your 1 where we differed. So now I have a 7-game lead, bringing my overall record to 55-35. And Joseph, I think that would put you at 48-42, I believe.
Yes, right around there, my good sir.
Okay, right around there. So I'm building a little bit of a lead. Joseph, I'm wondering, can you come back? Can you come back with these week's pick 'em? And
I was feeling a little bit. I felt I had to be a little bit bold, like throwing on the 1 yard line type of bold, and I got picked off right there.
You really did. And being bold, I don't think picking the Jets on Monday night against the Patriots is the best way to be bold. So
hey, you know what? Shots had to be taken. I didn't realize that the Patriots had gone and recruited some ghosts to go and play for their defense. So maybe if I had factored that in, I would have picked the Patriots. But you know what, Mark? I'm still feeling good about this. The Falcons blew a 28-3 lead. So, I wouldn't be sitting there all high and mighty and comfy with your 7-game lead. I mean, 1 week, this could be over.
1 week, I guess we will see. Let's get right into it, Joseph. I know obviously it's past Thursday, but there was the Thursday night game between the Washington Redskins in Minnesota taking on those Vikings. And we kind of texted each other back and forth. We always do this if we know we can't record before Thursday. And we both had the Minnesota Vikings taking this game. Not too big of a shocker. So just a little bit of that housekeeping. I mean, Washington is applying, along with Miami, to change their logo to a Panzer. And only one of those teams is going to get it, metaphorically and literally in terms of draft positioning. So we both called Minnesota. Not really much to talk about with that game. Let's just both move on to our next matchup, Joseph, on Sunday. A little bit of bird watching again. Bird watching.
The first, and is it the only? Oh, our only bird watching matchup of the week, Mark. We got the Seahawks going down to taking on the Falcons. Oh. And Mark, since I'm kind of going right now, I think I'll go ahead and start us off. And I think this pick we're both going to be on the same page. I think we're both going to be taking Seattle. Atlanta has not looked good all year, and they just lost Matt Ryan. I mean, if they weren't winning with Matt Ryan, I don't know how they're going to pull out a win against the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson, who is playing like an MVP right now. I know he didn't have the best showing against Baltimore, but I think he's going to bounce back and just really feast upon a week Falcons team right now, a Falcons team that's really hurting right now.
Yeah. Basically what you said. I'm not going to get too much more into it because, the Seattle Seahawks have Russell Wilson, who's probably going to be the MVP. A big stat padding game against this defense, I think, is going to help his case. And you know what? No Matt Ryan, so I don't care if it's at home. Give me Seattle in this battle of bird watching. And this is the second week in a row that Russell Wilson's going to go bird watching, playing the Ravens last week and playing the Falcons this week. So I think he'll actually win this one. So let's move on to our next matchup, Joseph. A very interesting matchup I think I'm really excited about. Sneaky good game. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles flying into the cold lands of Buffalo to take on those Bison, those Bills. So Joseph, who do you have in this one?
Mark, I'm going to be taking the Buffalo Bills at home against the struggling Philadelphia team. And as we've talked about before in some of our previous episodes, and as I'm sure our listeners have seen and read about, the Bills' defense is legit. They are good. They are the only defense that has really been able to shut down the Patriots this year, and they've just shut down just about every other team that they've played this year. And that's not the only reason why I'm picking Buffalo. I think this week, Mark, my picking of Buffalo is just due to my lack of trust with Philadelphia right now. They just have some bad things going on, I think. We're starting to hear about, some locker room contentions. People are talking trash on Carson Wentz. We had Alshon Jeffrey come out and do that. They're just releasing starters after they get killed. They lost the linebacker. Brown, his first name is slipping my mind right now. Orlando.
Zach Brown?
Yes, Zach Brown. Then they just got Orlando Scandrick right now. These are some of the things that we see some really bad organizations do. And as, me and you were talking about this before, when we start hearing lots of news like this coming from organizations, that's just never a good sign, and it just always goes downhill for them. So I'm not liking Philly right now. Give me Buffalo.
Yeah, you and I are both on the same page here. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. Again, that defense is one of the best in the NFL. I think there is a lot of mess to be had over there in Philly. I think Doug Peterson has not done a great job of keeping, control of this locker room. And I think the Eagles are really one-dimensional right now. I don't think they can run the ball. And it's weird because whenever I watch Philly, I feel like there are times where they can only run the ball, and then there's times where they can only, pass the ball. And it's just this lack of offensive consistency, all these problems coming out of the locker room. And, that the fact that Buffalo has only lost against one team, and that's the Patriots, I think that bodes really well for them. So give me Buffalo at home in that cold tundra, essentially. And I think it's a little bit of panic time for those Philadelphia Eagles. So that's kind of what we're both on the same page there. Let's move on to the next matchup. We have
just on a side note, Mark. We could see some fun little news reports coming out about the fan interactions in this game. I mean, we got Bills Mafia going up against the the people from the city of brotherly love, but I really don't think they show brotherly love that well. So I'm just saying things could get spicy over in the stands at Buffalo.
Yeah,
compass there.
Buffalo it is on my compass as well. Now that you mention it, I feel like this has the potential to have 16 drunk fans getting 8 different fights.
Maybe we could see
smashing tables over heads.
I think this is a possibility. May I make a bold prediction?
Make a bold prediction, Joseph.
I think at sometime Sunday we will see a video of a drunken Bills fan, RKOing an Eagles fan into a table.
Oh, no. What's the over-under on that? Are you going to set it at 0.5?
I'm feeling pretty confident about myself. I mean, we're talking about a fan base where a man let his pretty much lit a firework off on his face. I mean, I don't know how much stupider you could get than that. So, Bills Mafia, don't let me down.
All right.
Let's move on, Mark.
Yep, I'm taking the over. If you're setting it at 0.5, which it would be, I would put my money on the over with the RKO. But yes, let's move on to the next matchup. We've got those LA Chargers. This coming on, a struggling team, also going to another struggling team in Chicago to take on the Bears. Joseph, I think this is going to be a very, very even matchup between these two teams, but only one can come out victorious. Who do you think is going to take the win here?
Mark, this I think, like you said, it's going to be an even matchup. So I think this is just going to be a really, really ugly game. And I think in this game, Mark, I am going to take the Los Angeles Chargers. I know they have had their struggles, but I feel like they've had some competitive games this year. I know this last week in week 7, they had that fumble on the 1-yard line with Melvin Gordon that really sealed the game for them. I mean, they weren't able to punch it in. They would have won if he'd punched it in, obviously. I like the weapons that the Chargers have. Keenan Allen, they have Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon. He's proved that he can play in the past. I think he's still getting warmed up. And they still have Phillip Rivers, who I think we're starting to see he's fallen a little bit, but I like him still a little. I still like him more than Mitchell Trubisky. I still like him more than Mitchell Trubisky, who really hasn't played all that great this year. Same with the Bears defense. So give me the Chargers on the road.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm taking the Chargers on the road, and they're a division rival, which, it's kind of weird. And I don't really feel great about this pick, but it kind of does come down to, I think that defense played a whole lot better last week. Not like the greatest, but they played better. What's it called? Joey Bosa came in. He had 2 sacks. He was kind of finding his form a little bit last week. So I think that's going to carry over in this week because the Bears seem to have issues protecting the quarterback at times. I think Phillip Rivers is just better than Mitchell Trubisky at this point, and the Bears are kind of one of those teams to me that are reeling, and I just kind of expect them to come out flat again. That's kind of what they've been doing. So, Give me the Chargers. This one, you and I both agree again, yet to differ. So, Let's move on, Joseph. Who do we got next?
We got the New York Giants going in to take on the Detroit Lions. Mark, I still think this one's a clear-cut game. I think the Detroit Lions come away with this one. And my biggest reasoning is just the quarterback. Daniel Jones came off. He had that first game. He got he showed some potential, but he's really taken some steps back since then. He hasn't played anywhere near that level. He's been struggling the past few weeks. I'll just leave it at that. And Matthew Stafford is still playing like Matthew Stafford. He's still playing really, really well. I think both of these teams, offensively and defensively, weapon-wise, are evenly matched. But I just think Matthew Stafford is going to have a much, much better day against this Giants team. So, give me the Lions.
Our first disagreement of the day, Joseph. I'm taking the New York Giants.
I mean the Lions. Excuse me, I meant to say the Lions.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm taking the Giants on this one because, I feel like this has the potential just to be a really, really bad game for the Lions because one of the biggest things I'm going to cite is they did lose Kerryon Johnson, who was really important to, that running game. So I think that's going to put a lot more pressure on Matt Stafford. Not that he can't do it, but it's just not going to be as easy. I also think I think Matt Patricia may have lost the locker room a little bit in that he traded that Quandre Diggs to Seattle, I believe, and there's just kind of noise coming out of that locker room that they're unhappy with that. The guy was a team captain, and I think that's really going to demoralize this Lions team. I like the Giants here. They have Evan Ingram, who's a matchup nightmare. I like Saquon Barkley. And I expect Daniel Jones to kind of, now that he's played 3 or 4 starts, I think he'll kind of get his feet underneath him a little bit more, play a little bit better football. And, I think he's going to be able to take this one on the road. So give me the New York Giants.
Interesting. Our first disagreement. And I don't know about this one, Mark. This next game, we may have another disagreement because this is, I don't like this matchup. It's the battle of the former first round picks. Well, I don't know if it's much of a battle when one of them's on the bench. But we got the
Hey,
Tampa Bay
it is former.
Buccaneers.
No, I'm saying it is former first round picks because Ryan Tannehill was the first round pick as well. Um, but not in the same draft like you were thinking.
But we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mark, going in to take on them Titans, those Tennessee Titans. And just looking at this matchup, Mark, I think this is going to be a really, I think this is going to be just a really hard game to watch. I think this could just be really, really bad offensively. But I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill played well in his first start. I think he gave you a little bit more than Mariota had been giving you. They still have Derrick Henry, who I know he has a really, really big task going up this week against that Bucs defense. But I think he can do that. I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit offensively. And I just don't trust Jameis Winston to not throw interceptions. So give me the Titans in this one.
Again, we agree, and basically for the same reasons. Titans are at home. That's a big deal. I mean, I think Jameis had been kind of playing well this year until he broke it open, with that 5 interception game. I don't think there's really going back from that. I think he's just going to kind of continue to do that. And I think the Titans are going to be able to move the ball a little bit more. I think that Ryan Tannehill will make fewer mistakes than Jameis Winston, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Ugly game, not looking forward to it. But yeah, give me the Tennessee Titans as well at home.
All right, so we're on the same page. Moving on to another game where I think we'll both be on the same page, Mark. We have the 0-7 Cincinnati Bengals going on to take on the Los Angeles Rams. And Mark, is this in London? It looks like this may be in London. I'm just looking at my little pick'em sheets, and it has versus. So I think we may be in London this week for this week's matchup.
I have no idea. It might be. I have no idea, but keep an eye out for that one, listeners.
You know what? Why don't you start us off with this, Mark? I'm gonna go double check my facts before I spread false lies to our good listeners.
Okay, here's how I look at it. Remember how I said there was a Panzer tank? Like a couple teams were applying to change their logo to a Panzer tank. Well, so are the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're taking on a Rams team, which is head and shoulders better. Sean McVay is, I think, just can win this game just on the valor of his coaching alone. Andy Dalton doesn't really have the weapons. We've been hearing a lot of rumors that AJ Green may be gone, maybe traded. I just think that it's just two teams in different sort of modes, where Cincinnati's probably mailed it in for the year, and the Rams are kind of looking to get back on track. This is one of those games, like that Falcons game, that they're going to be able to continue to do it. So give me the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you were on the same page, and it is in London, Mark. So both teams are going to be traveling internationally, yes. And Mark, I'm just going to kind of use this one stat to kind of explain why I'm picking the Rams. And okay. I'll give the shout out. This is coming from NFL analyst Chris Wessling. I heard this stat from him, so I just want to give the shout out to him. I don't know where he got it, but the Bengals this year have rushed for roughly around 300 yards. Okay, and that's all their running backs. That's, I believe, as a team, around 300 yards. But the opponents that they've played have rushed for a total of 1,300 yards already.
Oh my goodness. What a discrepancy.
That's a 1,000-yard gap between the rushing yards you're gaining versus the ones you're giving up. That's just a sign of a bad football team right there, Mark. The Rams are just on paper, on the field, a much, much better team. I really don't have much more to say. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, and you have to think that Sean McVay is the kind of coach that really likes to run the football. This is just a perfect matchup for him. So,
Yeah.
the Rams. All right, let's
The
move
Rams,
on to our
baby.
next matchup. The Rams, baby. Not a lot of faith in the Rams, but a lot less in the Cincinnati Eagles. But let's move on to, I think, a very, very, very fun matchup in the Bayou, where
Ooh.
those Cardinals. This is almost like a Vatican matchup. This is almost like a Pope, Catholic matchup where you've got the Cardinals going in to see the Saints. Two
Oh.
holy men, if you're looking at it like that. But Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
Mark, part of me was thinking about taking the Cardinals, just the way they've played the past few games. But then I looked at the teams who the Cardinals have played the past 3 games and kind of realized that I think they may have kind of they've just played some really bad teams, and the Saints are a really, really good team with Drew Brees coming back. So that's going to give that offense a big, big, big boost. They're at home. I think they're going to have Alvin Kamara back. I haven't seen anything that says he's not going to be playing. And really, I think that defense is just going to give Kyler Murray fits. I know he's had it easy the past few weeks with some weaker defenses, but that Saints defense is legit. That defensive line is good, led by Cameron Jordan, who, like me and you were talking about I think it was last night, Mark, who is a very, very underrated defensive lineman, doesn't give the credit that he deserves. That defense is scary good. I think they're going to give Kyler Murray fits. Give me the Saints at home in this one.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, in every way, the Saints are a better team. And honestly, as crazy as it is to say, even with Drew Brees back, I think quarterback is the most evenly matched up position group in this game. I think Kyler Murray can make this really interesting. Kyler Murray has showed me enough. I know we were talking about in our podcast in the preseason, Kyler Murray hadn't showed us enough to really solidify himself as a top quarterback. Yeah, I'm taking that. I'm saying that he has shown me enough. I just don't think the team's really good around him, but he's been playing really well. So, they're just not there yet to compete with this caliber of a team. So give me the Saints at home, but really a fun matchup. I'm really excited to see this one, Joseph.
All right. I like I said, this one I think could turn into a sneaky good offensive game. Well, maybe like 20, I'll say like maybe like 24-20, like 9 type of game. That's kind of along those lines. But moving on, Mark, we got an interesting matchup, I think. This could be interesting. We got the New York Jets going down to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Mark, I don't think we've really talked about, well, at least on the podcast, but the Jets just got dismantled last week by the Patriots. And I know that's the Patriots, but they just did not look good at all. They didn't even look like a football team. I think a Pee-wee football team could have gone out there and given a better effort than that. I mean, I don't know what that was. And they're going into Jacksonville, who I think is, they're not a, I don't think they're a playoff team right now, but they've showed they've showed that they can compete in games and beat teams like the Jets. Gardner Minshew is playing good football. I won't say great, but he's playing good football. I like what we've seen from him. He's playing mistake-free. He's moving the ball. He puts together drives. Leonard Fournette is having, I think, the best year of his career so far. And really, I really did not like what I saw in Sam Darnold this past week. So I'm not having my hopes too high on him right now. And that's leading me to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars at home.
Yeah, you and me both, because let's just say Halloween came early for Sam Darnold this year with him seeing ghosts. And you know what? The way that offensive line was playing, they were, quite frankly, invisible. So I can see what he was talking about. I feel like those struggles are going to continue. I know the Patriots are really good on defense, but I also think the Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot of talent, even sans Jalen Ramsey. I think they can get after the passer pretty well. And, that kind of game that Darnold had, it's going to take him some time to recover. Like, honestly, this is going to be one of those things where I think he's going to struggle through it throughout the rest of the year and just really have to just mentally just kind of overcome that. It's going to take time. So just because of that and the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, with that running game, I'm taking Jacksonville.
Yeah, Mark, I guess we could say last week, Sam Darnold didn't get any treats. He got some tricks. If you catch my reference there.
No, I'm not familiar with that reference, actually.
He went trick-or-treating at the wrong place, Mark.
You never trick-or-treat in New England. How about that? Never.
Well, what I think is funny is I believe that was a home game for the Jets. I think it was.
I mean, dude, the way it looked, we can now call what's it called? MetLife Stadium, New England North.
New England North, Foxborough North.
I like Foxborough North better, so it basically was a home game with how quiet those fans were. It was just brutal to watch.
We got some bold things happening in the NFL. I mean, we've just had two teams just take over two other teams' stadiums. I mean, we got Lambeau North, Lambeau South. Now we got Foxborough North, Foxborough South. I mean, things are getting spicy in the NFL this year. I'm curious to see what other teams will lose their stadiums.
Yeah, well, the Raiders will be the next one, I think. So, anyways, let's move on.
We got an interesting matchup this time, Mark. We got the Denver Broncos taking on the Colts. Oh, this looks like, I guess we can say, like a father-son type of matchup. We got a Bronco and a Colt, if you catch my drift. But
yeah, we got the matchup of the horses.
Yeah, we're gonna watch the horses race this week, and Mark, I think the Colt is gonna emerge victorious. Really, we've talked about this before, Mark, and I think I kind of got sold a little bit on Denver after that one win and the way they were able to play in a couple of their games. But I think I've finally come to my senses and just realized that they are not a good football team this year. They aren't playing good. The defense isn't good. They have Joe Flacco as a quarterback who is really struggling to move the ball consistently. And they're going in to play the Colts, who are, I think, a little underrated this year. They are playing really, really well. Jacoby Brissett is filling in for Andrew Luck nicely. Marlon Mack has played really well. They have T.Y. Hilton in there. He's still explosive as ever. And I think that defense is, I won't say it's great, but it's just a good, solid defense that's playing well for him. It's not really putting a whole lot of pressure on the offense, which I think is helping Jacoby Brissett out a whole lot. So give me the Colts in this one, Mark.
Yeah, you and me both. I like Indianapolis in this one. Like you, I drank that Denver Kool-Aid, and I thought they were going to beat Kansas City coming into their home. They were playing well, and we all saw what happened. And I cannot, in good conscience, pick Denver after they've burned me like that, and after seeing that kind of performance. Just kind of all the reasons you listed, but the Colts are a really good team. And you know what? I'm going to go as far to say that, there's some people who think that the Colts need to find a guy to replace Andrew Luck in the draft. Well, they've already got a guy. They've got a guy who can play for them. They've got a guy who's going to be very good for them for years to come. I don't think they have to address quarterback. They just need to keep improving that team. He fits that system. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes, and he just manages the game well enough and makes some plays every once in a while. So Jacoby Brissett's a lot better. And let's talk about that Denver offensive line. I mean, 9 sacks to Kansas City. There's some serious problems there. And Joe Flacco can't escape either. That just magnifies it. So Colts, probably a dominant win at home.
Yeah, we're on the same page right there. I don't really have much to add there. Moving on. I think this matchup could be really spicy. We got the Carolina Panthers flying across the country to take on the undefeated San Francisco 49ers. And Mark, I'm just going to get straight to it. I think the Niners are just going to come in here and they're just going to protect their home. These Panthers are, I think this isn't going to be a close game, to be quite honest. That San Francisco defensive front is it's legit. I'd say it's the best in football right now. You got Eric Armstead, you got DeForest Buckner, you got Nick Bosa, who is pretty much unblockable. He's been insane to start off his season. And you got a guy like Dee Ford coming off the bench who's only playing about 20 snaps a game. I mean, that defensive line is legit and it is loaded, and they're going to give Kyle Allen nightmares. I know he's had some fumbling problems to start off this year. I think we may see a couple of strip sacks this game. I think San Francisco is going to run the ball really effectively against this defense, so give me them at home.
Joseph, I disagree with you. Now, well, I may have phrased that wrong just to get your hopes up. I think that the Niners will win this game, but this is going to be a very close game, Joseph. The reason why is because kind of like you're but praising that San Francisco front, and rightfully so. I think you need to give a little bit more praise to this Carolina defensive front. This is one of the most dominant pass rushing fronts in the NFL right now. And I can't remember the stat, but I can't remember the specific percentage, but Carolina blitzes the least out of any team in the NFL. They rush 4, and they have the most sacks out of anyone in the NFL, just from their front 4. They blitz the least out of everyone. So that front 4 is really going to get after Jimmy Garoppolo, who's had a pretty good season, but has been mistake-prone throughout this year, who's thrown some interceptions. I think that pressure is really going to get to him. They're going to have those guys in coverage, and I think they're going to generate some turnovers, and Christian McCaffrey will make some plays to keep this game close. Ultimately, because it is at home, I'm going to take the Niners, but very, very close game. Really good matchup this week. This is actually one that I was thinking about going Carolina with.
Oh, I mean, we're on the same page right there. So that's good. That's good, Mark. Real good. But now, moving on to your boys, Mark. Them Raiders. They're going down to Houston to take on your boy Deshaun Watson. And Mark, you know, there's been a couple of times this year that I've liked to go with them, but I ain't gonna be doing it today. You ain't gonna be getting no Raiders from me this week. I'm taking the Houston Texans.
Can I just get a Raiders just for the heck of it, just for the spirit
Raiders!
of it? Oh, that's beautiful.
But the only people that will be shouting Raiders this week are the Houston Texans. And really, it just comes down to this. I think Deshaun Watson is better than Derek Carr. I think Deshaun Watson has more weapons right now. Will Fuller. Actually, I don't think he's playing this week, but he still has DeAndre Hopkins. They've been able to run the ball a little bit more effectively the past few weeks. And he's shown that he can play at a high level. I think Deshaun Watson is in the MVP conversation right now, and that defense is still a good defense led by J.J. Watt and some of those other guys. So give me the Houston Texans in this one.
Joseph, well, where do I start with this game? Here's how I think this is going to play out. The Raiders are going to run the ball. I don't think any team can take that away from them this year. And I think they're going to have their offensive line intact for the first time fully healthy this year, where they get Trent Brown and Gabe Jackson back. There's no team in the football, minus maybe the Patriots, who can stop the Raiders from running the ball this year. They're going to be able to do that. I think Derek Carr actually showed some pretty good signs last week, was able to move the ball against a pretty good Packers defense, was able to make some throws, make some plays, was turn the ball over. But ultimately, I think this game is going to come down to the Raiders' inability to get after the passer. When Deshaun Watson is held to 0 sacks or 1 or less, something like that, in a game, he is 7-0 in his career. He will shred you if you don't get to him. And the biggest weakness for the Raiders is their pass rush. So, again, I think this will be a close game. I think they're both going to put up a lot of points. I think the Raiders' offense has kind of figured it out. It's just that pass rush is just such an issue, and I think Deshaun Watson's better than Derek Carr. So it is in Houston, too. that doesn't bode well. I take the Houston Texans winning in a close one with the Raiders.
Ooh, in a close one.
I think it's a very close one. I do think that the Raiders do a lot of things well. They've just got a couple weaknesses they need to figure out.
All right. So we're on the same page, it looks like, right there. We both have the Houston Texans. And I don't think this next matchup is going to give us any crazy. I don't think we're going to have any disagreements here, Mark. We got the Cleveland Browns going in to take on the New England Patriots. And Mark, I people are trying to hype up this game. I know Jarvis Landry has come out and basically guaranteed a win, but just look at the way the Patriots defense has just torn apart young quarterbacks this year. Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and they got another one in Baker Mayfield who hasn't even done anything against bad teams this year. So with all of that, I cannot in good conscience pick the Cleveland Browns to go into Foxborough to beat Tom Brady and to beat the Patriots defense. I just don't trust Baker Mayfield enough to do that. He's already sitting at 11 interceptions for the year, Mark. That isn't too good. He's regressed a whole lot. So I think we're gonna see just total and utter dominance again from the Patriots. I don't think this one's gonna be a close game at all.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The only thing that ever really gave me pause for this game being kind of close is that Cleveland can get after the passer, so I think they'll be able to get after Tom Brady a little bit. But even so, I think Baker Mayfield's been playing that bad, so I'm taking the Patriots at home. But Joseph, let me pose you this question, a couple questions here about Baker, because it's kind of getting to the point where you should be very, very concerned about him. I mean, like, my first question is, I'm setting the interception total for Baker Mayfield at 2.5. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under at this game?
Well, I'm going to take the over, Mark. I say he has at least three. Let me see if I can pull up this stat really fast. I just saw something the other day about the Patriots defense, just their pass defense.
Mm-hmm.
So when they've played some of these younger quarterbacks, let me just I'll just use this. So they went into Miami. They had Josh Rosen. They had 4 interceptions. They went into Buffalo. They played Josh Allen. 4 interceptions. They go into New York and they play Daniel Jones. 3 interceptions. They go into New York and play Sam Darnold, and he had 4 interceptions.
Oh, man.
They have not had a game this year where they have not had an interception. And the 3 games where they didn't, they faced some at least competent quarterbacks, some at least experienced veteran quarterbacks, Big Ben, and they played Case Keenum, who isn't great, but, at least as a veteran, kind of at least has some idea of what he's doing. And then they went down and played the Jets with their just crappy quarterbacks who probably couldn't even get the ball in the vicinity of a defender, let alone a receiver, let alone a defender. So it's not looking good for Baker Mayfield in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm taking the over. I'm taking over 2.5 interceptions as well. Is it time to really, if you're Cleveland and you're kind of a decision maker there, is it time to start thinking about life after Baker already?
I think so, Mark, because they have talent on this team. This is not a talent-deprived team. The offense has Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb. They got playmakers on there, but really the biggest thing holding you back is Baker Mayfield. So if he doesn't produce this year, I think, especially with all these quarterbacks coming out, I think this is the time where you may have to say, all right, let's go try for another one. Because if they don't win this, they're sitting at 2-5 and could potentially sneak into a top 10 pick, top 5 pick maybe.
What do you think it is with Baker at this point? Because I know he came out and he threw a lot of interceptions last year too, and we thought he was going to be able to clean those up, but he was also making plays and throwing touchdowns. Like, he had more touchdowns than interceptions last year. What do you think it is?
The biggest thing I'm getting is just the pressure is getting to him. Just if you can put pressure on him, he is just not going to throw the ball effectively. And I really think that's had some kind of effect on him. And, just look at what the Patriots did to Sam Darnold last week. They ran a cover 0. They basically said, we don't think you can beat us with, like, they basically, cover zero, you don't see that too often in the NFL as your base defense. No safety help right there. They basically just said, you're not good enough to beat our corners. So I think we're going to see more of that with Baker Mayfield. They're going to make him beat them.
It's just kind of crazy that, with so much promise that Baker had, he's just fallen this much. But anyways, we spent a lot of time on this game talking about the Browns. Let's move on to our next matchup, our Sunday night matchup, Joseph.
Oh, and Mark, this one is on my compass, and we got my boys. We got them Packers, Mark, going into Arrowhead Stadium, to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And Mark, I don't know about you, and this may be biased, but I really don't think this is going to be a close game. People are trying to hype up Matt Moore that he's going to take over and just throw for 5 touchdowns with all the praise he keeps getting. But let's be honest, Mark. Matt Moore is good, but he's still Matt Moore. He's no Patrick Mahomes. That offense is really going to be missing him. And that Packers defense has been playing really well this year. I know they've kind of regressed a little bit. They've kind of dropped down to, I think, more of an average defense. But I think with an average defense, you can still beat Matt Moore, especially since you have a man named Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback for you, and he's going up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I don't think this is going to be a close game at all. I mean, I think this is going to be another field day for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So give me my boys, Mark.
Yeah, you and me both. Now, I will say I think the game's going to be okay, but I don't think, Green Bay is really going to be ever in any danger of losing this one, if that makes sense. Like, it might not, like, the score might not be crazy to where it's like, okay, it's 48-7. I think it'll be somewhat respectable. But, I mean, at this point, I think the Chiefs should just change their name to the Kansas City Patrick Mahomeses, because, like, that team is, I don't think it's good. I know they had a lot of that pressure on Denver, and they have a couple weapons, but overall, that's just not a good football team, and I think they're going to continue to regress once they pay Patrick that money. So I just don't see any saving graces here.
Here's something along those lines. Here's something I'd like to point out. When Patrick Mahomes isn't making crazy plays, when he's not doing, when he's not just being ridiculous, that team does not play well. I mean, look what happened against the Colts when he really didn't do much. They put up, maybe 17 points of offense? I mean, they really struggled to move the ball. And 13, I think Patrick Mahomes that's struggling to move the ball is still better than Matt Moore. So things are not looking good for the Chiefs right now. I think we're going to, I think this is just going to be like you said. I think it's going to be an easy win for Green Bay.
Yeah. And if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm one of right now are really concerned because, kind of like you said, Patrick Mahomes had a great first year. I'm not arguing that, but he came down to earth, and I think, he's still putting up good numbers, really good numbers, but I think he's come down to earth in recent weeks. And like you said, when he's not making these cool low percentage plays, which he was doing last year just because it was kind of new, it's just they've struggled mightily. They can't run the ball. Their weapons, have been hurt in and out of the lineup. I think Andy Reid's been exposed as a play caller a little bit, and they can't protect him. And that defense is bad. I mean, this is a bad football. This is a 4-win football team if Matt Moore was their starting quarterback for the entire year, in my opinion. So, yeah, give me the Green Bay Packers.
This Chiefs team, I know we get this comparison a whole lot. Patrick Mahomes being compared to Aaron Rodgers, but he's kind of in a situation that Aaron Rodgers was for quite a few years, where he basically had to do everything to get the team going, to get them to win. And I think we're going to really see just how bad this team is since Patrick Mahomes isn't in the game. Moving on, Mark, because I can spend a whole podcast ranting on Patrick Mahomes. I saw an article that had the audacity to say, is Aaron Rodgers on Patrick Mahomes level?
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll move on. Let's temper those. That Patrick Mahomes has never been as good as Aaron Rodgers. Let's just get that straight. But anyways, let's move on.
We'll move on, Mark, before things get ugly.
Okay.
We got the Miami Dolphins, Mark. We got the Panzer tanks going down to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And Mark, really, this matchup does not excite me at all. But I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, and I don't think I have to do a whole lot of explaining. Miami just is not a good football team. They are tanking in every way possible. Pittsburgh has a really good defense. They have a really good pass rush. I think they're just going to have a field day on whoever they throw back at quarterback, whether it be Ryan Fitzpatrick. We'll probably see Josh Rosen in there at some point after Fitz has thrown 3 interceptions. Give me the Steelers in this one. I don't think I have to do a whole lot of explaining.
You know what, Joseph, you and me both, but let me play devil's advocate here. So I'm taking the Steelers, but here's my scenario. You know how like people have these things where, you know, if this team does this, then they can win the matchup. Here's mine for the matchup. Within the next week, within the next few days, they are actually allowed to change their logo from a dolphin to a tank. And on the sideline, instead of having a dolphin cheering for them, they have a literal Panzer there blasting Pittsburgh off the field. That is probably the best case scenario for Miami to win at this point. Literally mortar shells at the defense. So
you're saying that in essence, the only way Miami can win this game is if all the Pittsburgh players were just to be blasted off the face of the earth.
By a literal Panzer, yes. After they changed their logo. Yes. So.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's be real. He can keep things. Not. We've seen this before last year when he was the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, taking on Pittsburgh. Interestingly enough, on a primetime game, and it wasn't close. Even without Big Ben, that defense will terrorize Josh Rosen when and if they do decide to put him in. So, give me Miami unless they have a tank on the sideline. So, or excuse me, Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh unless Miami has a tank on the sideline.
All right. You know, Mark, this week we didn't have money. We didn't have any. I think we only had one difference in our picks, and that was the. Oh, which one was that? That was
New York at Detroit.
That was Detroit. So, you know, I may not catch up to you this week, but you know, leads like that aren't blown away in 1 week. They take some time. So
no, I agree, and it's really interesting. Like, I could literally care less about every other matchup in the NFL this week. I just need Daniel Jones to be Danny Dimes and pull this one out because. I mean, I think this is the most we've agreed on games. We've at least had two every episode, so this will be an interesting week for us. So, yeah, we got some good matchups. We also got some, really bad matchups, but feeling pretty good about these picks. How about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about this. I think we're gonna. I personally think we're gonna hit on most of these picks. I think a lot of these were, looking at it, it kind of looks challenging, but I think a lot of these are fairly straightforward. We have a good idea who's going to win.
Yeah, I hope so, because if we come back and we both went like 3-11 or something like that, we would just invalidate our opinions. But I think we're positive. We're positive right now, so let's keep that positivity in our mind as we end this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're going to have more content for you. We're planning on doing different things, so get ready for that. But anyways, we're going to get out of here. This has been Mark.
And this has been Joe.
And we're signing off. You guys have a good evening.